Okay, so today is the 18th of October, and well, I was in a comedy stand-up event, and this AI started to do movements. This time it was doing it in the face. It will trigger muscles. I was not feeling nervous. It does this the whole time. Let's say, sometimes it will shake one finger. One of the things that it does when I walk is that I can move my hand and do this symbol, which is a racist white power symbol. And this is one of the first features that happened with this kind of AI, but the AI has progressed through time. So one of the first things that happened to me when I went to the hospital for first time in 2017 was that my arms and legs were having reflexes. This was recorded by the medical body in Sydney, and they say that I was paranoid. Actually, it was super difficult to get me inside the hospital because they told me that I was good, that nothing was wrong with me. So I spoke about that before, and I was able to get into the hospital, and these reflexes will continue. I also will have voices, but the fact that I went myself to the hospital was precisely a sign of sanity, yeah, because I was noticing that something was wrong. But obviously, it was not psychosis, was not paranoia. It was an attack by a neuro weapon. So I will move like this. My legs also will move, the same kind of reflexes. And very likely is because when I have my knee ACL done, most likely they use the data of my scanners, my body scanner, and that data was used precisely put through an AI, through a computer, and to do that kind of attacks. Yeah. And so technically it works something like this. You have all the biometrical data of a person. If you have an MRI, then this data will be extremely precise. And most likely, I remember that there was two MRI that were done supposedly for my knee, but truly you don't know what they are scanning when you are in there. So it's very difficult to know what the machine is scanning. You can feel a little bit of magnetism, but I was not paying attention to what part of the body was the magnetism directed to. So what I was feeling after that was, yeah, voices, these kind of reflexes, etc. But very extremely precise, um, let's say, interventions, like, let's say, the implantation of dots or things like the highlight of certain concepts in the brain that require extremely precision. That started to happening in 2024 in September, November. But by then, let's say just the AI did a reflex here. This is the kind of signaling that I spoke before, like thumbs up and things like that, the right hands. So it's like a kind of slave, yeah. It's like a kind of, they use you as an experiment, as a puppet. This is wrong. But I collaborate with a study of schizophrenia, and there are two things there. The problem of this studies. Create a kind of meta-knowledge that is created upon victims of neuroweapons that do not have schizophrenia. And the other problem with that is that they use this kind of data that was, the kind of MRI that I have at that time is one of the most sophisticated. All of those were done in the Swinburne University. So these two scanners, they have two machines that apparently are only in the southern hemisphere and are one of the most sophisticated. Afterwards, my biometrics got even more compromised because I'm sure that once they process that data, they can know every single thing in my brain, okay? Because it can be decoded. And this gives open door to the Pandora box. Now, after that, then, I tried to finish my first semester, doing national security policy, and I couldn't finish the assignments for the same reason that I couldn't finish my diploma of the philosophy of liberation, given by the professor, ex-professor of the Sorbonne University of France, Dussel, Enrique Dussel. So I will feel that my brain will stop. And this is not high tech. To stop the brain, you only need to send a frequency that is, I think it's called the Hushman frequency, that's between 20 to 40 hertz or something like that. Let me see. I can't remember the name. No, not here. Okay, well, something like well, it's gamma brain waves. That's another way to call it. Well, 20 to 40 hertz. So you only need to send a frequency that will cancel the frequency of your brain. This is not mind-blowing. The frequency can be direct in this area and easily that's detectable by any magnetic, let's say, detector. This is not something that will be investigated by the police. Precisely, I sent the report to the police and I was locked up in the mental health hospital, and that's the psychiatric prison that is spoken by many sociologists and other, let's say, academics of the social sciences. And then this is the paradox that I'm allowed to go outside, I'm allowed to have a relatively normal life for the eye of the people that inadvertently know what's going on, yet intelligence services will know that this is happening. But this is hidden because it seems that they're gonna reveal capabilities, but there is a problem. In the long term, if these capabilities are not revealed for the public, then they're gonna increment this kind of war as the computing power increases. Why this is a war? Because what happened to me is what happened to many other people that you see in the TV that attack suddenly for no reason another person, and then they get labeled with schizophrenia or mental health disorders. So if you check the data of the history of mental illness, Less than 1% of the people will have schizophrenia. Now, just recently, it became 1.5% of people who has schizophrenia. So this kind of data was always, forever constant. Another point is that the attack that will do people with schizophrenia, the kind of violent attacks that people with schizophrenia will do, will be the 1% of that 1%. So it's like 0.01% of people will attack randomly another people and will have schizophrenia. But now, all these people that you see in the TV in United States, in Europe, in Australia, etc., that suddenly kill other people, many of these people that is attacked with neuro weapons and killed another person are killed in the act, and we cannot talk with that people. We cannot talk with that people, yeah, because they are dead. That's what they try to do to me, and it makes sense because when my refugee visa was not granted initially. It took 5 years. Again, one of the longest visas in the history of Australia, one of the longest visas for refugees in the history of Australia, one of the longest visas in the history of the Western world, yeah, for refugees. Not many refugee visas take that long. First, I couldn't initiate a life as having, let's say, a contract in a company because my visa was not stable. I will stay always in a bridging visa whilst the refugee visa was granted. Then my refugee visa took so long that I couldn't also study because at that time were not policies for refugees to start to get new skills in the university, etc. So you could go to a university, but you have to pay international fees, which is, I don't know, $23,000 per year or something like that. So it means that if I get a 50K job, 60K job, I have to work 1 year, save money, and use half of that to pay another year. So it's simply impossible to study in that way, especially if you are having attacks. Because remember, the first attack that I had was when I was 23 years old. I started to experience electric shocks. Sometimes those electric shocks continue happening, but continue happening in a more precise manner. So, but these electric shocks also continue having this doctrine, military doctrine of ambiguity. So they are not, I mean, this kind of remote electric shocks do not happen that often, especially just indiscriminated in the brain. But last time that they happened was just after I did the video about it that is already in YouTube. The next night it happened already. But this is the problem. If I go to the doctor would probably say that I have convulsions or anything like that. But the problem with that is that once you have a diagnosis, they're gonna use that diagnosis against you, and you cannot differentiate what is the diagnosis and what is the attack. Yeah. So, and this will happen for every single person in society. So you can, if you get diagnosed with something, is kind of sentence. So because we are talking about the psychiatric prison. So it's like you're gonna get a diagnosis, and that diagnosis will decide the rest of your life because there will be AI machines that will be constantly making sure that the symptoms for which you will diagnose with will procure, okay? And these symptoms will just continue as neuro weapon attacks, and these machines just get better and better and better. So then that's the problem of keeping this hidden, because in the future there will be 1.5% of people with schizophrenia, and this is the crazy thing. It's supposed to be 1%. Now it used to be 1%. Now it's 1.5% of people with schizophrenia, and once they are diagnosed, they have no option but keep running the machines, because otherwise the facade, if these people is not continuously attacked, then falls. And it doesn't take much computing power, because these are only electromagnetic waves. The computing power that this requires is probably lesser than the computing power that my phone requires. Yeah. And this is simply the more computing power or this is the thing, the more victims you have located, the less computing power you will need, because you will have, the more people get locked in with this kind of technology, then you will have diminishing returns in the amount of power that you need to spend. So one person will require a lot of computing power, one machine working just for one person, but then two persons will only require a little bit of code and technically the same energy and technically the same computing power, just switching quickly. If you have three people, then you will need probably a little bit of computing power just to do the switch and another line of code. Yeah, and as you have more people locked in, you will need lesser and lesser and lesser computing power. So these are the diminishing returns to the towards, let's say, the consumption of energy and also the computing power. So then if you have 1.5% of people with schizophrenia right now, this is the people, I mean, not everyone has been neuro-target. Some people will have schizophrenia, and some people will be survivors of neuroweapons that live with the fake induced schizophrenia, or let's say a psychosis. Then this 1.5% of people include the people who biologically has schizophrenia and the people who is attacked with neuroweapons like myself. And these neuroweapons know when you take the medication, because these neuroweapons also were designed to do what is called enhanced interrogation, for which is also a kind of lie detector that is infallible. It does not fail. Yeah, it's impossible to hide any kind of lie. Yeah, with these kind of machines, simply you cannot hold it in your brain, because it's part of lying is know what is a lie and what is not. So then you have all these tests of this kind of testing of lie detectors, they go to hell, because this is the ultimate lie detector. Yeah. And they know when you take the medication and when you don't take it. They know the dosage, etc. Blah blah blah. Yeah, they cannot know maybe at the point, not yet at the point to detect specifically the amount that you put in your mouth, but they know exactly when you take the medication and when you don't take it. And then they allow you to sleep, and you are in the matrix. Yeah, you are just like a kind of neurological slave. Now, this 1.5% of people that is partly biologically having schizophrenia and partly attacked by the neuroweapons include obviously the people that has survived, but this does not include the people that could have survived after doing an attack. So it means that If we take statistically the people who was mentally ill and did attacks and did not survive those attacks because they were shot or they were killed whilst doing the attack, will increment the amount of people that could have been living with quotes schizophrenia, if that makes sense. So statistically this falls apart. Yeah, and that's a fact. I mean, you as an statistician, this life falls apart. If you are a neuroscientist who knows AI, you know that these weapons exist. If you are an engineer of telecommunications who understands also the brain, you know that these neuro weapons exist. If you work in national security and you have a top clearance, whatever, you know that these things exist. If you are someone who works for a company or AI that developed this, you know that this exists. One of the first companies, I mean, what OpenAI did all that time that was not open. I mean, I notice myself. I think they use different AIs upon me, but I notice myself that the, there will be an upgrade. There will be differences in how I was attacked with the new weapons, and at the next day they will announce an OpenAI update. Yeah, there was a tweet of Sam Altman, Sam Altman, uh, Altman, Sam Altman, yeah, say that it was not a good idea to do the NCP experiment. So he most likely is referring to experiments with people that's supposed to be NCPs, mind control. And that's only OpenAI. I do believe that this is not the case, maybe, hopefully, for every single of the AI enterprises, and I do believe that this has been a quarrel between many AI enterprises, because you could see that sometimes people leave those companies when they are really into that. And that might be one of the reasons for people who leave the company. Yeah? Or maybe that's the reason for maybe neuroscientists to be like, holy shit, this is leading towards a dystopian world. Yeah. And the problem with that is that first, they want to keep that hidden. Second, it cannot be kept hidden. Third, if it is kept hidden, then you're gonna have a situation that will look like this. So I just write down the focus of what I'm gonna do right now. So then, okay. Here we go to the online paint. So this is the situation. What happens if this is kept hidden? So you will have different groups of people. No, sorry. So you will have different groups of people that will know what's going on, in which we will include the national security top clearances, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a clearance, so I don't know anything about it. The industry and corp. We will have the scientific body, the engineer body, no, engineering body, and we will have big teams, that Neuro target big teams, but I will say I'm not a victim, someone is a victimary, because there are no victims. A precondition for being a victim is that there is a victimary. Okay? So then we have a, let's say, IT professionals. We will have eventually the body, the health, mental health, and let's say overall anything relating with health body. We will have the military, and all these from different countries. So this is like a all these from different countries. Yeah. So this is like a multiplier. Multiplier. A multiplayer, but multiplier. I don't know if this is written in the proper way. Never used that word, but I have only used the word multiplayer. But okay, you know what I mean. Then this is impossible to keep secret, okay? But what if it continues being secret? Then we will have the following situation. All these people will know, and this will be a group that only will become bigger and bigger as time passes. Bigger. Okay? Then it's gonna just become bigger. One of the problems of keeping this secret is this idea. I don't know who came with the idea, but it's very dangerous just to think in these terms. That the mind, oh shit, what you saw? Okay, well, the mind as a battlefield is a dangerous idea in itself. So the mind should not be taken as a battlefield. If you take the mind as a battlefield, you will dehumanize. Then everything becomes means, and there is no end. Again, when the means betray the end, that path destroys the end in itself. When you use the means slowly, just saying, is this just justifiable to get somewhere? The means start to lead you somewhere else because you are using those means that build the end. And one of the proofs is that they thought it was funny to attack me when I was 23 years old. I'm 34 now. They thought it was funny because I wouldn't notice it. And I would maybe accredit those attacks to something else, not that could be natural. And now I'm in this situation, and now they are in this situation, and now, yeah, it becomes a huge thing, in which more likely they, to have a kind of semi-consensus, involve more companies, more military, etc. So I have to take medication. I receive every single day attacks. And today I was in this stand-up comedy show, and it was horrible that you will go there to relax, to have some enjoyment, to maybe find this kind of humor that is nowhere else found because, these are comedians from Colombia, and it's a kind of only one chance situation that you will see your favorite comedians that you always see in YouTube from a long time ago live, and then you start to receive attacks. Then your face start to move. You start to call the attention, and it's bothersome. So I sat, and I couldn't stay 10 minutes. As soon as I received the attacks, because they can read my mind, I say to them, fuck it, I'm not gonna stand this. I'm gonna keep your balls informatically, and this is the result. So if they keep this secret, one of the situations is that people will stop to communicate with each other, because the cancel culture will make anyone who dares to tell the truth to not have a voice. So that will be in the public sphere. Okay. It will be canceled in the public sphere, as this technology allows cybernetic economies. It will be canceled in the business sphere. The conversation will be canceled with secrecy in the personal sphere. Because we all know that the surveillance state is not necessarily the government. I mean, the government is not paying attention to what you say the whole time, but there will be automatic AIs just scanning in which they can pick up if you are having a conversation of that, and then you will become a target of something. And this data is collected by companies, and there is a relationship between these kind of companies and whatever dystopian intelligence services who do that. But that's what happened to me. That's the truth. I'm no, you have to be very thoughtful humanist, and you have to understand that people is doing their jobs. And yeah, just recently there was this colonel in the United States who renounced. Apparently, the Colombian president praised him because he decided to take the right decision to maybe not direct weapons towards the people. And I'm gonna have a look to him properly because he might be a hero. Okay. So in this, we know that the Nazis exist. We know about the Holocaust, and we know that the reason for which that happened, according with the Frankfurt School of Critic, that was a Jewish school, is because everyone was following orders. And the problem is that if they control the business sphere, the public sphere, let's say whatever, even the personal life, then everyone will be afraid to lose their jobs. Yeah. And also this conversation cannot be in government. So then who in government will talk about it? Because to talk about this, you need to have a consensus among many countries. And to have that consensus will require to say to the people, oh fuck, your mind can be attacked at any time. Then people will be like, what Daniel is saying is fucking true. Holy shit, that's scary. And then people think, the governments think that people won't be mature enough to not get mad, go crazy. But that's the problem. This gonna corrode social cohesion, and social cohesion will happen artificially. Then this artificial social cohesion will lead to inefficient markets because these markets won't be creative. The artificial social cohesion will lead us to more crimes, less accountability, and more power for this kind of perpetrators. Then what most likely will be is like people who will come attack. I don't think that the persons who attack me today are the same that they were attacking me when I was 23. For a time, they were merciless. Because I remember, what happened is that I wanted to go to Slovenia with my ex-girlfriend. They rushed my visa. They sent me to the hospital. I couldn't leave the country, but they give me the permanent residence. They rushed it suddenly and attacked me at the same time, so I end up in the hospital. But when the politics change, because governments have to keep this secret, I was able to study. As soon as Donald Trump entered in power, again, they continue attacking me. So there is a relationship between politics and the use of this. What I'm not totally sure is that what is the kind of hardware that they are using. Is this powered by satellites? They are using the local network. Have they implanted things in my body? I'm not sure. But technically, let's say I don't care about things that were implanted in my body because this is detectable. But I know that in the long term, the objective and the engineering-like process, I mean, if you're a good engineer, you will try to never implant things because everything can be done by electromagnetic waves alone. Yeah, you just need some rendering of the biological signature, and then you need the precision for where the signature will be sent. And then you have devices like mobile phones. It could be, let's say, my Wi-Fi and another kind of, it can be any electromagnetic wave from which you can read the environment, retrieve the biological signature, and pinpoint where the attack will go. Yeah. So with another kind of let's say electromagnetic means. So you have means for reading, means for attacking, and you can have different people only reading, different people only attacking, and if one person attacks, then the person who reads might think that is a biological signature, but actually it's an attack. And the person might think like, oh, Daniel is saying this, is thinking this, is feeling this, but truly it is an attack. Yeah. And if then you will have people coming as operators and seeing one thing and another operator seeing another thing, and you will have people brainwashed with different kind of information, and then you could create a situation in which you could brainwash people, or that will be a kind of gaslighting of operators to believe that a target is doing this, thinking this, or feeling certain things. Yeah. So then this comes also, what they are pushing is a moral degeneracy. I used to not think in racist terms. Now I difference what they want me to difference. Like, it's like, let's say if I see someone, they will be in like white woman or things I never thought in those terms before. Or if I see a black person, then they will be in that I recognize like, oh, it's black. I never thought in those terms before. I will mock with my friends who are black about the situation of being black. I never liked the word gringo or white because I mean, for me, it's like, I mean, it's like epistemologically, as a reference to distinguish someone for certain features. For me, I do prefer to use Caucasian, but as racist terms, is far away from what I think, who I am, or what I wish to be. Yeah, but they push that rhetoric. I say in another video that they will push dreams, that these dreams are easy to hack because it's simply it could be done in two ways, because they hijack the visual process that is in your brain, that the part that of your brain that process visual, video, whatever, and then being exactly those kind of videos or whatever 3D shit that they wanna be. or otherwise they hijack your visual nerve, and then they project the images that they want to project. But what they were projecting were situations in which will involve an attempt of pedophilia. But check this out, I never failed any of those dreams because I became conscious of those dreams. In the last dream, I was like, okay, they are trying to do this. Yeah. In one of the dreams, there was a lot of beds, and there were kids playing in the beds. And in my dream, I was like, okay, what the fuck is this? It's like totally 3D. This is the kind of technology that is happening nowadays. For now, I will look like crazy, maybe someone immoral, but they cannot hide it for a long time. Now, I know that I will have the truth in a few years, so I don't worry to say that. But in one of the dreams, I was like, okay, well, kids playing, whatever. And I was thinking how these beds were made. Is this wood? Because I like carpentry. Myself, I work as a carpenter. The father of my ex-girlfriend was a carpenter, and he taught me a lot of things in carpentry. And he's extremely skilled. I mean, and also I have one of my best friends in Colombia is also a carpenter. And okay, to be a carpenter is majestic. Yeah, that was the trait of the father of Jesus Christ. When you do carpentry, you learn a lot of building, and you learn about the structures, materials, precision. So I was looking at the beds in these dreams, and as soon as I went to see the wood, obviously it looks totally digital, and I woke up from the dream. And they tried to make it, but this is totally immoral. So I question if whoever is doing this has created pedophiles, allow these people to rape child, and create this kind of crime in society, maybe to create fear. I don't know why they would do something like that, but it's possible. And one of the problems with this kind of ideology is that if anything is possible, they will do it. They will do it just for the sake of war. But it's extremely stupid because you are not attacking anything. It's like you are attacking civilians. It's like the doctrine of the United States dropping a bomb upon Hiroshima. It was not a military target. It was not a strategic target. It's barbarism. Tokyo was already bombed. Most of the main military strategic places and main cities were already bombed. Tokyo was about surrender. They have no option, but they have no also option to surrender, because what the United States did was to close technically the channels to give an option for them to surrender and drop the bombs. So there is a lot to say about that. McNamara did not agree with that. Henry Kissinger was the one who pushed that, etc., etc., etc. Nowadays, this strategy is not working because it means that if United States has been pushing this kind of doctrine, or I don't know how to call it. It might be not a doctrine, but this kind of strategy. If United States is pushing this towards allies, then it means that these bilateral relationships will be a kind of I attack you as an ally if you do this for me, and I'm gonna continue attacking you. And if I continue attacking you, I'm gonna do what I say, and you're gonna keep this secret. And if you don't like it, I'm gonna go for your population. I'm gonna go for your kids. I'm gonna go for your best minds. I'm gonna kidnap. I'm gonna neuro slave. And I think that's why governments cannot talk about that openly. And I think that's why, as far as I know, every single of the allies of the United States are looking for multilateral relationships because it has become too difficult to deal with the America First doctrine. Because America First doctrine is not a relationship, it's a kind of domination strategy, because we are talking about business. I mean, the business mentality of Donald Trump it seems to be super easy. It's super easy, and is also let's say a confirmed mathematic strategy that is not effective. So we talk about, okay, there's supposed to be a B here. Okay, but okay. Something like that. Okay, sorry. My orthography never was the best. It's like in Spanish is EV, but this is what I do. I correct that immediately. And now it's NM. Okay. And it's, and that's what I do. And that's why I consider myself smart, just because most of the people is afraid to correct themselves at the spot, but I'm not afraid of it because I always learn. So the problem with the bilateral relationships is that because governments have to keep it secret, this strategy of domination with the America First policy means that I always win, you always lose. Whilst there will be China. With China is like, I'm gonna trade with you, I'm gonna do deals with you in a mutual agreement in which you are very likely to win, or we are likely to win both. But it's not my policy that I have to win always. Then it's a kind of short-minded mentality of business. But this is the problem. When you take business to government, then as a business people, you want more profits. Then you will try to perhaps reduce the salary of your employees, because you think, if I reduce the salary, I will have more money. But when you are up there leading an economy and you think, I'm gonna reduce the salaries, then people will earn less, and these people will acquire less services because now they have less money, and you will have less money in circulation. Then it means that companies will have less clients because many people cannot afford much just because someone fill its pockets, making less pockets to release the wealth. and because less pockets release the wealth because their salaries are low, then less companies can grow, less companies can exist, less entrepreneurs will succeed. But it's because you have a business-like mentality controlling the economy. And the same happens with alliance. Yeah? Instead to have a war order, you have a war disorder, because now things are rearranging just because United States want to accumulate a kind of capital by force. And we are talking about many kinds of capital. But it's not the whole of the United States that wants that. And this is the magic, that most of the people, I do believe, in the intelligence community disagree with this. Most of the people who have some decency disagree with this. It's just a few people with power that have acquired that power precisely because by keeping this secret, they could divert the people who think that they are doing the right thing whilst obviating the complexity of the situation. When there is a lot of people uneducated simply because this information has not been given to them, then they gonna choose Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is precisely the result of these policies. So, but Donald Trump comes to be not the problem, but or his policies, but the result. Because then Donald Trump would not hire a person like me. If I say to him, you are wrong, you should be doing this and this and this, because it might be complex, he will say, I don't like it. Bring me someone who tells me what I want to hear. And then they will place someone who will say to him what he wants to hear. And then you create a steep kind of hierarchy in which it's not open, but it becomes steeper. Then you will have less people making more important decisions instead of having many minds doing many decisions. So when the hierarchy becomes steep, then all the rationalizations became straightforward. Like perhaps, if I don't like this, I will send the military there. If I don't like that, I would say then the appliance of force becomes the rule. And applying force is always easy, yeah? Because let's say you have a son, a daughter, and you want your son or daughter to not go for the cookies, or you want your son or daughter to take only one cookie after lunch. She will take the cookie, it's nice, and might go for the second one. You have two options. Teach her, hey, you shouldn't eat too much sugar because it's bad for your body. She might not do it the first time. The second time, you maybe show, I don't know, you show her a documentary why she shouldn't take cookies. Okay, the amount of energy is this much, and the flour and the sugar and all these components doesn't have many nutrients, and therefore, yeah, your many things in your body will change, and then you will start to feel certain things, etc. And it will be complicated. But if you just hit her, as soon as she's gonna go for the second cookie, you just smack her, she's not gonna come back, and that's easy. Because the right thing is always more difficult and more complex than the wrong one by default. Doing the right thing is more costly energy-wise and time-wise, but the right thing also bring the perks, like peace. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna leave there just because the time. See us.